final tally of the books shows Alberta ended its last fiscal year in a much better position than the government had predicted. Finance Minister Nate Horner had expected to balance the books this year. Barely. Now Alberta is sitting on an $8 billion surplus.
The economic handoff between last fiscal year into this one was stronger than we expected. I think that's definitely good news for this year. And to date, the tariff situation has been a lighter touch than we forecast in our baseline for budget 2025.
So how did we get to an $8.3 billion surplus? Expenses were a little higher than expected, but money flowing into provincial coffers far exceeded expectations. Non-renewable resource revenue was nearly $5 billion more than forecast. Finance officials say that's thanks to increased pipeline capacity through TMX to the West Coast and a smaller differential between light and heavy crude oil. That allows producers to sell oil at a better price. A growing population also increased corporate and personal income taxes, this despite a new income tax cut. Alberta's investments performed better than expected, and although the province spent almost $2 billion more than budgeted, dropping interest rates helped debt repayment costs. Also, a long-awaited legal settlement is finally bearing fruit. The unlikely source of revenue comes from the makers of products like these. Last year, 3 tobacco giants came to settlements with provincial governments and smokers to compensate for the health care costs of using their products. Over time, Alberta is supposed to receive more than $3 billion. More than $700 million of that settlement rolled into the province's coffers last year. Horner says his government has no specific plan for that settlement money. It won't necessarily go to health care. Other than a broad commitment to pay down debt and add to Alberta's Heritage Fund, Horner says there's no plan yet for Alberta's $5 billion cash surplus. The opposition says that lack of plan is a problem, arguing that tobacco settlement money should be going to improve access to cancer treatment and education programs.
As we lurch from a higher surplus than anticipated to a $5.2 billion deficit, with no clear plan to, work our way out of that deficit in the midst of a trade war with our number one partner.
With U.S. President Donald Trump now abruptly canceling tariff talks with Canada, the satisfaction of having a bit of extra cash could be short-lived. The province has already forecast a $5.8 billion deficit for this year. Oil prices have slumped, and Horner says this uncertainty has put a freeze on investment. Janet French, CBC News, Edmonton.